Okay, so just to mention again, this is Let There Be Art, 7 Days of Creation. We're here with David Moss, and this is the Q&A. So I'm going to start the question with Bill Aaron's question. We kind of want to know, behind all this creativity, what is your personal background? What's your education? What brought all this about?
So what brought all this about, as my sister Meredith Levinson can testify, is our father, Jack Moss, who was a teacher of creativity, an inventor, a musician, a poet. And we were raised with so much creativity in the family that my sister banned the word at some point. So that's kind of where it all started. I have no formal art training. I consider this a gift that was given to me. It only came after I became more Jewishly committed, and all my work is Jewish. So I see it as an expression of my Jewish life, as a gift and as an expression of my Jewish life. I went to St. John's College in Santa Fe, New Mexico, the great book school, got a classical, probably the best classical education, realized I was missing, I had the great books of the Western world, but I didn't have them of the Jewish world. So I went on to study afterwards, and it's been a constant interplay between learning, teaching, creating, and sharing.
Wonderful.
Did that answer a little of it, Bill?
Well, I think so, but he does have one more question, and he says it's the dreaded question. What are you working on now or in the future?
Why dreaded, Bill? That's the fun part. So I'm always working on my minion. I have a new piece that I'm working on right now. We just sent out something based on the 7 species to our 70 subscribers. I called it a minion because I was hoping for 10 subscribers, and I think, Esther, we're at about 70 now. We just sent out one based on the 7 species. And I'm now doing a series I call Psalm Stamps. I consider the book of looking at the Tanakh in broadly, everything in the Tanakh is God's revelation to us, except the book of Psalms, which is our talking to him, sending him messages. So I'm doing 70 stamps, one for each of the 150 stamps based on this 150 Psalms. So that's I was working on 115, 16, and 17 today.
So I'm going to kind of combine questions. So I saw that one, the ketuba that you did the paper cutting on, literally the Hebrew letters for it as well. And I was wondering, A, how long did that take? And then also someone was wondering, Rebecca, do you do paper cuts with laser, knife, or scissors?
So I have a kind of time and number disability. So I don't live in real time. So I have no idea how long these things take me. I just start and I work until they're done. But these things can be time consuming. I just always have felt that whatever time it takes to make it the way it needs to be, that's the time it will be, even if it means cutting out the entire text of a ketubah, every letter by hand. All the originals are entirely done by hand. I use a surgical scalpel, and the reproductions are then done by laser. For like my minion, many of those are paper cuts. Many of the ketubot, it was hard to see, but are paper cuts. It's a traditional Jewish and non-Jewish art form, folk art form.
Rose was wondering, do you draw with light pencil before you put the letters on the ketubot?
No. I will draw the guidelines with pencil or scribe them into the paper, but then I would just write.
Mara, and I believe she was asking what camp is this done at? I think that's the one where you were doing the ecology project.
The projects you saw are from a number of different camps. This whole part began through Shelley Dorff, who many of you may know, who was the head of the Ramah camp movement, and came to me and said, we really want to get the arts upgraded in our Jewish summer camps. He said, go pick any camp you want, go there, figure it out. What do you do? How do you do this? So we started, I think, at Palmer, Ramah. I've been at Canada, Ramah, the Rome, now focusing because our daughter is the director of Ojai, California. But virtually, I don't know, 30 years or more, I've gone every year to camp and taken a group of kids, sat them down at the beginning and say, hey, kids, what's on your mind? What's a problem you'd like to address? And then take them through the entire process of how you can create a work of art to address a given issue. A lot of it is about problem solving. I have a technique that I teach called synectics for creative problem solving, very efficient in a group. And this is also the process that I do with our teachers in the Teachers Institute. Hope that answered.
Yeah. So I always like to, we have time for about one or two more questions. If anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, you're more than welcome to do that, and also mention where you are in the world. But I don't want to put anybody on the spot, which I'm kind of doing.
You can also, my publisher Esther is on if you have questions about getting the books or the prints or any of that. You can put it in chat and she will get back to you.
Right. I am going to put in the chat section as well. If you'll check out our virtual art site, this is also a program that's a fundraiser as well for the synagogue. And the artists very generously are donating a portion of the proceeds to the synagogue. But check it out. There's 16 other artists on there. We do have a question from Paula Perlman.
Hi, thank you. Your work's beautiful. I really appreciate it. So as a grandmother now, how would you, and just as a parent, like how would you work with art within the family? Like, so that I'm watching a 2.5-year-old now want me to draw so that he'll draw something. And I'm just trying to figure out what's the relationship between observing and doing at a really young age.
I always say, people ask me about creativity and is it innate or is it taught? And I always say it's obvious that it's innate. Both, I have a religious Jewish answer to that, and that is that we were created in the image of God, and one of the things that God does is create. But I also have a very practical proof of that, and that is these young preschool kids. They don't need anything. You just give them the tools and they have the creativity within them. They will play and they will create and they will make. And it's just, what happens is society, I believe, parents, society, school especially, clamps down, and it's becomes the right answers and the right way, and it should look like this and it should look like that, and that's what closes them down. As long as you can keep that innate creative spark that all preschool kids have, they will maintain it. Hope that was somehow helpful.
Right. And then one last question is, can we purchase any of the works from the Minion pieces?
Yes, unless the ones that have sold out, they're all available. My subscribers get them all at half the opening price, but then the rest of the edition goes on sale through my publisher, Beta Alpha Editions. And those, because they're limited editions, some of them have already sold out. They tend to rise in price as the edition sells out. And then once they're gone, they're gone.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I think that concludes today's program. It was such an honor to have you on here and present to the TBA community and beyond from all over the US and Israel. You're just wonderful. And I mean, truly, I wish you the absolute both best in unlimited creative flowing in every sort of direction. And so with that said, tomorrow, or actually this evening at 5:30 p.m., we have a program with Diane Fredgant and Lori Fandel, who are Portland-based artists. They're fiber artists. So if you could join us on for that. And then we have one more program tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, Columbia, South Carolina, and Memphis, Stephen Schulwachtel and Lisa Harvey. And then we conclude our program with the Dean of Photography, Bill Aaron. So, and that's at 2 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday. With that said, thank you again so much, David.
Can I say one other thing? I just was
Please.
flipping through I hadn't been able to see who was on. And I'm just so honored that Martino Mardersteig from Verona, Italy, who is the greatest printer in the world and did my facsimile to the utmost of accuracy in a year and a half spent there. Martino, I'm so glad you're on, and I'm really honored.
Wonderful. Yes, a lot of wonderful people on this Zoom call. So with that said, enjoy. What time is it over there in Israel, David?
I told you I don't do time.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I'm sure it's
dark out.
it's dark out.
It's 9 p.m.
Thank you.
Right. Well, all right, everyone. Well, have a great rest of your evening or morning or afternoon or wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. And hopefully we'll see you later and for the remaining of the programs.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Thanks for the intro.
Of course, my pleasure.